We said that we're getting into the BRICS Summit. Let's get into the BRICS Summit. So we got our key takeaways, and this came from our friends over at the Orinoco Tribune over, I believe, in Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to take that. So this is one of the, the satellite nations. They are obviously encouraging and supportive of this effort. So we can take our, we can take the bias from there. But last week, the 14th BRICS Summit took place virtually, chaired by Xi Jinping. Okay, the BRICS bloc, which is, again, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, which represents a key political, economic, and scientific force in the international arena. They represent half the world's population, and their collective GDP is greater than $20 trillion, okay? Whoa, what happened? It went back. It went backwards. Okay. In today's context, the significance of the BRICS Summit is increased to the extent that the bloc represents an alternative to the unipolar world of the decaying West. What follows are some of the key points from the summit in Beijing. Okay, so, I see that this is still technically running. Let me stop that. All right. So, they want a multilateral compromise in the defense of international law, which includes being more inclusive with less developed countries. That sounds great, right? They want to promote peace and international security without compromising the environment. Love that. Okay. They want support for an open, multilateral, transparent, inclusive, rules-based, non-discriminatory commercial system. Okay. They want cooperation to combat COVID-19 with support for multilateral organizations, but also searching for medicinal alternatives. I like that. Okay, support dialogue between Russia and Ukraine from an impartial perspective. Now, this one I kind of chuckled at a little bit, because who's in the BRICS alliance? Russia's in the BRICS alliance. So how can they possibly be impartial if one of the member states is involved in the conflict? I don't know how they do that, but they also strongly support a peaceful, safe, and stable Afghanistan, while they emphasize their respect for its sovereignty, independence, territorial integrity, national unity, and non-interference in its internal affairs. Right? They also recognize the necessity to resolve the nuclear problem in Iran through peaceful and diplomatic means in accordance with international law. Now, how they intend to do that with NATO, I seriously question. It should be interesting. Support for bilateral and multilateral negotiations in order to solve problems related to the Korean Peninsula. So, look, this is BRIC stuff. There's no reason for NATO countries to get involved. And then they want to compromise for a world free of nuclear arms, which I think we all would be in support of.
Yeah, completely. Like, not just, like fucking Western, Eastern.
Right?
Like all the nukes could go.
Right. So they also want. Go ahead. Yeah. Get rid of
no nukes. That was it.
No nukes. Cooperation against terrorism, the reaffirmation of the exclusive authority of the UN Security Council, which I also found really interesting. Now, again, you've got most of them which are member states, of the permanent member states of the UN Security Council, but I just found that also interesting that they're also legitimizing and further reinforcing the authority of that body. International cooperation against corruption, 100%. We're 100% in support of that, as long as the leaders themselves that are voting on that are also subject to that. They also want to compromise to continue bettering the coordination of macroeconomic policy, to further practical economic cooperation, and to work to achieve post-COVID-19 economic recovery in a sustainable, balanced, and inclusive manner. This sounds almost like World Economic Forum language in a little bit of a way, and I'm sure somebody is going to drop that in the chat and be like, this sounds a little like Klaus Schwab, Xi Jinping.
Golden Sun in the chat. The World Development Bank has funded 80 projects.
Bingo. Okay.
Apparently.
Now, finally, this is the last part of what they are negotiating and what they're agreeing to and what they have virtually met to discuss. We commit to strengthening inter-BRICS cooperations to intensify the BRICS partnership on New Industrial Revolution, Part NIR, and collectively create new opportunities for development. So that is pretty vague. Then they also say that they encourage the BRICS interbank cooperation mechanism to continue playing an important role in supporting BRICS economic and trade cooperation. They're essentially getting off the petrodollar, is what it sounds like to me. Interbank cooperation mechanism. So is the ruble the base? Maybe all 5 of them are the base, and they become like, and they normalize
like a Five Eyes sort of.
Sort of. Yeah. Opposition to green commercial barriers and support for coordination on this issue. So again, they want to eliminate barriers for green commercial type of projects. Again, little World Economic Forum-y. And then cooperation in agriculture. Incredibly vague. What does that mean? So I had some questions with regard to this article and regard to some of the findings. Again, you're talking about world leaders from some of these major countries that are getting together. There's going to be a lot of questions that are to be asked. So I just thought it was really important to cover that and to go over some of the things that they talked about. Again, UN Security Council, really important. Cooperation against corruption, super important. Okay.
Did it see what BRICS standed for? At like the top of the article, probably. Yeah, okay. So Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Got it.
Okay.
And yeah.
Half the world's population and more than $20 trillion worth of GDP. And will also likely involve much of Africa going forward.
Right. Especially with like how China has been interacting with them recently. Right? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Sounds scary for us.
Yeah, that's not so great for the West. But this is a counter to NATO. This is what happens when you have a NATO type organization that exists for so many years, and they're effectively, now talking about like, adding Argentina and Pakistan and some of the other Asian nations, and basically eliminating the Anglo nations, the European and West, and of course, their satellites that go with that. So